Hello, welcome to the Gab and Juls Show. No Gab today, he's in the US, so look who's come down to me. Hello, Stu Robson.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming.
It's always a pleasure.
We've got a massive show, Stu, because we've got big games in the Premier League. We had the Manchester United Chelsea on Saturday. We had the Merseyside derby. On Sunday, the big one was Arsenal Manchester City, but also the Rome derby was on. There were big games in France. There's the Ballon d'Or coming tonight.
You were
as
a
we
busy
record.
boy then.
We're very busy, Stu, but I'm glad you're here to help me just analyzing everything and making sense of all those games that we saw, especially the Arsenal City game on Sunday. What did you make of it overall and that 1-1 result?
I mean, I was a little bit disappointed with Arsenal because Manchester City, I think, are frightened of Arsenal now. You know, because they know they can dominate the ball, they can hit Manchester City with pace and in the wide areas. They've got players that can open up Man City. So they were going to have lots of possession, but I was disappointed with Arsenal in the first half that a lot of that possession was square and backwards. I mean, the out ball was always Madueke out on the right hand side, who did okay to a certain degree. He went past his man. Really. I know Riley defended him well on certain occasions, but I just wanted more penetration. I wanted. There's no reason when the back players had the ball, and the only person really pressing the ball was Haaland, and maybe sometimes Foden went to press a little bit with him. Why does Rice want to come deeper?
I agree.
And why does Zubimendi want to come deeper? Let the centre halves and let the at least one of the fullbacks do that.
Yeah.
You play 10 yards up the field, closer to Gyökeres, and then you're going to cause more problems. But it was all a bit too slow and too much passing. And should we we'll pass it back to the centre halves, and it just allowed Man City to get behind the ball.
It's that midfield three of when there's no Odegaard, Merino with Zubimendi and Rice, instead of a Nwaneri or Eze who came on at halftime for that.
Is it? Do you think because they're frightened to give the ball away? Rather than thinking I can pick a pass out that might cause problems. And is that come from the coach? Don't give the ball away. Keep it. Let's dominate possession.
It's the control. I think the idea was very much the control of it, like away at Liverpool when they did it. The problem is you lack creativity and you like play between the lines, right? And City are very vulnerable between the lines. We saw that against Brighton, we saw that against Spurs. And I don't think Arsenal did it enough. Is there a case from a coaching point of view, from Arteta? Eze has just arrived. He's been there like 2 minutes, right? And he usually plays on the left. That's what he did for Palace. To put him in that Odegaard role on the right, like he did in that second half, but from the start. Do you think maybe Arteta looked at it and thought, I'm not sure if it's a bit early to put Eze there, or he should have done it from the start?
He probably thought it's a bit early, Eze hasn't done particularly well. He's been okay, but he hasn't done particularly well.
He's just getting to know the team, right?
He needs to build up his confidence. I think now he's played him in that position, and it worked well in the second half.
I agree.
I think there's every possibility that he'd play him there instead of Marino because he's a player that can pick a pass out. He can run with the ball. He's got a goal threat.
Yeah.
Marino's only goal threat is if he makes a run into the box and gets
or in the air.
And there's Rice is a decent passer of the ball, but he's not going to find those passes that Odegaard finds. And Zubimendi, I'm afraid, I've never been a fan of him when I was watching La Liga because I always thought, has he got a forward pass in him? And I saw that again yesterday, and I sort of half taking the mickey with Rob Palmer watching the game. So, here we go. Oh, sideways. Can he pass it? No, backwards. And so with those three in there yesterday, there's not that that creativity. But I also say there wasn't enough players in the forward areas to pass to because the two wide players were wide and Gyökeres was trying to make runs, but he needed more support.
On his own, City scored on an Arsenal mistake in the sense that they beat that press and then in transition, Reinders, Haaland hit you. Were you surprised that after that goal early on, 9th minute, they just refused to play and just gave the ball to Arsenal and sat really deep, 30% of the ball? Back five, which I don't even remember Pep Guardiola ever using a back five. One forward left for the last 20 minutes. Very un-Guardiola-esque, if you want, that tactic.
Well, I think it shows that he's not got confidence in his team to dominate against the very best teams. It was okay against Napoli because Napoli were down to 10 players in midweek. And they couldn't get control. The only player that really looked a threat was Doku. He got them up the pitch. Sometimes on his own.
Absolutely.
And you're thinking, well, that's totally against Guardiola's sort of mindset that somebody had to dribble their way out to get up the field. So, I was disappointed in Man City's, but I think it says everything about Guardiola and what he thinks about this Man City team at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Against the best teams.
Yeah, against the best team. But this is still Man City. And it's still Reinders, Haaland, Doku, Foden, Bernardo Silva. even to a certain extent, Stones was on the bench, but even your defenders can play. So this is not like Stoke City, or it's not a bad team where you think, okay, those players are rubbish. Let's just hoof the ball, play deep, and just clear the ball every time we can. That's why I'm disappointed. I understand his evolution in a way. I understand the fact that if the opposition is better than you, find a way of trying to nullify them more than... But this is Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. This is a team that costs £2 billion. And to see them play like Stoke City, I'm like, come on, this is not.
I still think he had the 5-1 defeat in his mind from the previous season. We can't go into this game, try and press the ball and get played around. And probably the worst thing that happened to them is that they scored early.
Yeah.
And then they decided, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to defend deep. We're going to try and hang on to the lead. And they hung on to it for a long time. And they defended their box very well. Yeah. But you'd have to say it was just in numbers. It wasn't because they were tactically brilliant.
Yeah,
it was just we got numbers behind the ball and Arsenal didn't do enough to break them down.
Right, let's continue this chat on Guardiola, because I think it's the big one and the most important one. He tried to explain and justify in a way the tactics by saying that they were also tired because they played obviously the Manchester derby the Sunday before, then Napoli on Thursday in the Champions League at home, so at least no travel, and then in London for the Arsenal game on Sunday. He said it took them 4 or 5 hours to go from Manchester to London on Saturday. I don't know if they walked or they cycled, but even the train doesn't take 5 hours.
That might be why they were tired, because they cycled down.
Because 5 hours, I don't know, but hey, maybe. But usually they fly private jet, which takes 45 minutes from Manchester to London. But anyway, and yet they're tired, but he picks the same team from Thursday on to Sunday.
Yeah, and I don't think that was the reason why they defended so deeply. It's because, for once, they didn't press the ball. Manchester City under Guardiola was always a team that we've got to win the ball back quickly. When he was at Barcelona, he had the 7-second rule. But they didn't have enough players in the front areas to go and press the ball. So he said, okay, Arsenal can have the ball, and then we're going to defend from a deep position, and we're going to try and force them out into wide areas, and then we'll defend balls into the box. I just think he was frightened of Arsenal. He was frightened of last year when they got beaten 5-1. He's tried different tactics against Arsenal because Arteta's had the better of him in recent games, where they've controlled the ball at the back but never got it into front areas in previous games, even the Community Shield. So I didn't quite understand what his tactics were.
I agree.
But it could have paid off mainly because Arsenal weren't creative enough and didn't get enough good balls into the box and weren't penetrative enough with their passing and didn't get enough players in the forward areas.
Yeah. Watching the game, I was thinking, okay, that's how you want to play now, this back five when Ake comes on with half an hour to go. I'm like, really? But surely at training, right, somebody like Pep Guardiola has, and especially in a week like this where there's no time to train, right? We agree, there's 3 games in 7 days, no time to train. But never at training, he would have used the back five. Never at training. This is not his training drills and exercises will be for that high press to keep the ball, play in tight area with a man less or 2 less so you can beat the opposition's press. That kind of stuff. Never with a back five. Never with a super deep block. And so those players, okay, you on the day you say, well, Arsenal are better than us, so let's revert to that defensive mindset. But your players are not ready. And we saw that on the goal, the Martinelli goal, because it's the 93rd minute. They're their back five. That back five should be on the edge of their box, just making sure that nothing can come through, and then you win the game 1-0. And yet they're 40 yards ahead. They leave space in behind. Nobody presses Eze that has all the time in the world to pick the pass for Martinelli. Donnarumma goes AWOL because he's got no awareness of space. But we warned you, City fans. We warned you about his good things and about the bad things. And they concede a goal in the 93rd minute like this.
It's what lots of teams do at the moment. They don't understand how to hold a line or drop at the right times if somebody's got time on the ball. Yeah. The worst thing you can happen in football as a defensive side is somebody 1v1 against the goalkeeper. That's always been the case. Yeah. But you see it happen more and more now because teams are more worried about holding a line and trying to play people offside than they are with actually seeing the danger, reading the danger and dropping off. They had the warning about 2 minutes beforehand. Yeah. There was a ball played over the top, but it was a little bit wider, and I think Guardiola just got there with pace, but it looked as though, I think it was Gyökeres might have got in. On this occasion, Martinelli makes a good run. Ake doesn't pass him on well enough, or Guardiola tries to run on the wrong line. He runs across rather than on an angle, doesn't see the danger. And then from that point on, if you look at Donnarumma's position, was on the edge of the box to start with, which, again, coaches like goalkeepers to be on the edge of the box. I don't understand it, because the goalkeeper, in my view, is, you talk about Donnarumma, there's lots of goalkeepers that don't understand the distance between,
absolutely.
Between the ball being played over the top, who's going to get there first. As soon as he realised, as soon as he realised that Martinelli was going to get there first, he should have been back on his 6-yard box, ready to then defend the next shot, and come out at the right time for that. But he was caught in no man's land. Completely. So the only way that Martinelli could beat him was just loft it over the top, which made it easy for him.
Yeah, and it's a great goal.
It's a lovely run, good ball, and an excellent finish.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was made easier for him by the fact of Donnarumma was in no man's land, and Guardiola and Ake don't see the danger.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for Donnarumma, I'm not going to go back on it. He made a couple of decent saves on the Eze shot and the Madueke shot in the first half. Not much more to do. There's a couple of crosses where he missed the ball, but again, he's not good at it. Distribution, not very good, and we saw that again yesterday. But this lack of awareness when space is in front of him and the ball is coming, this is also a problem he had in Paris that is clearly not resolved there. But it's almost like City considered that goal because they were trying to play against their own nature, which cost them. That's why I don't understand. If you worked all week on a back five and a low block, then you do it in the game. Okay, at least your players are prepared. But for City players who've never played like that, Guardiola would have never, ever mentioned a back five or a low block before. I think to have gone into that kind of mode, well, they just was not used to it.
But I'd also question the players' mentality at that point. We're 93rd minute, I think it was.
Yeah.
We're 1-0 up. We've got to defend for our lives. We can win this game. We've defended well for much of the game.
Yeah.
We've got to hang on for another 4 minutes. You drop off.
I know. I agree.
You drop. Okay, the ball's going to be played over the top. I'm going to give myself 5-yard start. You can make as many runs as you like, Martinelli. I'm going to get there first. You're just going to run into me.
Because the fact that they just push up right on that line at that time in the game, that would not be Guardiola or Pep lying there saying to them, "Come on, get out of our own box."
I don't think so. No,
I would not think so. Right. So the other day after the Brighton defeat, we talked about the leadership or lack of leadership in that team. So when they conceded that first goal in that game, when they were in control for the first half, then their head dropped, and then after that, you knew the second goal was coming. It felt to me yesterday that the lack of leadership from a Ruben Diaz or Rodri had gone off by then. But Diaz, even Guardiola, I don't know who, Bernardo Silva, I don't know, anyone would have said, boys, let's just stay here on the edge of our box. So there's only like the box behind us. Donnarumma can deal with all of that because at least he can do that. And then, like you said, let's just grind out this 1-0 win and we're good. And instead, they just push up.
There's another thing that I say a lot when I'm commentating on games, and I see it over and over again now. Arsenal fans are great at winding up the referee to say that Man City are time wasted.
Yeah.
But the more I see teams time waste, the worse their performance gets, and the more they lose goals in extra time.
Okay.
Because as soon as if you're hanging on, Man City were hanging on. The left back O'Reilly takes an age to get off the field, and as I'm watching it, I'm saying this is going to cost you because the referee's going to add the time on.
Yeah.
Now. We're talking about physical tiredness, mental tiredness. When that ball goes up and you're hanging on and the board says 7-8 minutes, it inspires the Arsenal players.
Yeah, of course.
And the Man City players go, another 7 minutes. And I see it over and over again.
Yeah.
The more you time waste, the more it comes back to bite you in the backside.
No, I think, I agree. I agree with you. When Arsenal went to City, remember last season, and played that whole second half in their box with 10 men after the Trossard card, we heavily criticized them for the lack of ambition, the lack of... And this with Guardiola, Stevie Nicol yesterday on the FC show said, I've got loads of respect for him because he did what he had to do, and which I struggle a little bit with killing Arteta for playing like that a year ago with 10 men, and applauding Guardiola for trying to do the same in this when it didn't work because they drew the game. It's better than losing it, I guess. But we're just clapping, saying, he did what he had to do when we were very, very critical of Arteta.
Most of the times, teams don't say, Arteta doesn't say, right, just drop deeper, and Guardiola say just drop deeper.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's forced upon
Yeah,
them
yeah, absolutely.
because
By
the other
opposition.
teams, the opposition have control of the game.
Yeah.
And you think, well, you can't go and press them because you're going to get played round and we're going to leave ourselves open. So sometimes it's the players that think, I'm not going to go and press that, so I'm going to drop deeper. But the fact that he took off Haaland, that was the big thing, when he took off all the attacking players and played with 5 at the back and 5 in midfield.
Pretty much, yeah.
And the problem you always have with that is that if Arsenal scored after 91 minutes, how do you get back into? How do you try and win the game again? You can't.
No, definitely.
And that was the surprising thing. Not so much how they dropped, the people he took off to stop them ever being able to get forward.
Yeah,
all the players that could have got him higher up the field, he took off.
Yeah, and that's why the last 20 minutes, it was Sudoku a little bit, and then Savinho was the only forward he had. The other 10 players were all defensive-minded or number 8s or something like that. But no proper forwards. No. Erling Haaland scored again.
Yes.
He took his goal very well, but Reinders made it easy, I think. The second chance he had, remember early in the second half that Doku makes, he should cross the ball for Foden, right? Square it to Foden.
I'm not sure it was that early in the second half either, was it? I think.
I can't remember if it's an hour or...
it was a moment that could have won Man City absolutely. The game.
And then I don't know if he sees Foden, he could square the ball to Foden, I don't know if he sees him or not. But then he decides to shoot, okay, no problem. But if that shot had been good, at least we could have said, okay, he almost scored. But that was a terrible shot too.
And he took it way too early.
Yeah, and because no power.
Because once he got into that position and he decided not to play it to Foden, because he must have seen Foden.
Yeah,
you
would think at that level.
He thought, I'm not going to play that. He could have carried it onto his left foot and got closer to the goalkeeper, so he could then pass it into the corner.
Even with Saliba coming across, he could still have.
And it was a poor effort, and that was a moment where you thought, well, that could have been the game. So I was disappointed. Although I've always been quite critical of Haaland's general play. This season, it has been slightly better.
I agree.
He's back to, even with the goal, he made the first pass and then continued his run. So I would say he looks a better player this year than he did last year, when some of his general back to goal play was non-existent.
Yeah, I agree.
Last year he just became a goal scorer.
Absolutely.
And not a player that joined in, not a player that offered himself up. And that was what was disappointing.
Yeah.
This season, I've seen a bit more from him.
I agree. Although he had, I think, more clearances than shot on goal or something like that. But that's the debate of Guardiola turning into Mourinho that we had earlier. We mentioned the coaching from Arteta, or certainly the cautiousness when he started, the coaching with Eze. Martinelli has become the super sub now because he came on against Athletic Club de Bilbao in the Champions League on Tuesday, scored and assisted. Then he came on Sunday, scored that very important goal, because I think if Arsenal lose that game, it's a very, very different mood today. At least they didn't lose it. Is that his role now? And is he suited for that role?
He will say not, because I listened to his comments. He's saying, I don't want to be a sub. I want to play every week at 90 minutes, which every player does. But when he started games, he hasn't played particularly well. And that happens to a lot of players, that they think, I've got something to prove when they come on. And that's what he's doing at the moment. He's proved on 2 occasions that he can be a sub, and his pace can get him in behind. And when everybody else is tired, he's got a bright mind, and he's made the right runs. Because when he started games, his decision making hasn't been good. He's
an instinct player, right? So he just goes.
But unless he can start games and start well, he's going to start to become the super sub, and that's where they're going to use him, which will probably not what he wants.
No, not what he wants. But I think he could be well suited in that role.
And on both the goal in Spain and the goal, he's making runs from outside to in. And that's where
he's most. I know you like that.
Well, that's the most threatening. Because once you get in, you're on in goal. If you're running wide, you've still got to cross the ball, and you've still got other people to find. But running from outside to in, breaking off sidelines, that's what he's good at.
This game was obviously very good news for Liverpool and Arne Slot and the players and their fans. They're 5 points clear of Arsenal now, 8 of City. They've got 15 points. City have 7 points in 5 Premier League matches, which from a City point of view is not enough. Obviously, 2 wins and the draw from Sunday. It's very early on, of course. We've only played 5 games. Liverpool will have tough games. They will have to go to the Emirates. They will have to play City twice still. So it's obviously far from over. But if you would say to Arne Slot at the start of the season, when he had all those new players to integrate, probably changing slightly his tactics and the way his team was going to play, that after 5 games, they would be 5 and 8 clear, he would have signed with both hands and both feet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's I don't think it's an advantage for them at the moment.
Yeah.
But they're going to drop points. They're going to go through bad spells. They're not playing particularly well at the moment, although they're getting the points. Yeah. And I think Arsenal are going to win most of their games this season. I think Man City aren't going to be good enough.
Yeah.
I think it's still in transition. I still think Pep Guardiola is going to think, well, no, I don't fancy him in the end, and he's not quite good enough, and he'll come to the fore, this player, still looking for the right tactics and all that sort of stuff. So I don't think Man City will be title challengers. It's going to be between Arsenal and Liverpool, and I think it's going to be very, very close. So the 5 points are great, but it's not going to be a decider yet.
Yeah. Right, enough Manchester City and Arsenal, Stuart. What about some quickies then?
Absolutely. Let's go, Jules.
What did you make of that Manchester United-Chelsea game on Saturday, Stu? And is it a turning point for United and Amorim, do you think, that win?
What I would say, it was a good start. Right from the start of the game, they created a chance. I think Mbeumo had a chance. Then they get the sending off, which again was through quite direct football, but the players were sharp and lively. Ball played forward. Shesko wins the ball in the air. Mbeumo, who I thought had a good game all round and seems to be settling into that position, what you'd call an inside right sort of position. He made the right sort of run, and the goalkeeper gets himself sent off. So it's very difficult to judge Manchester United against 10 players for the whole game.
90 minutes.
But what I would say was that certain players look as though they're improving. I always want De Ligt to do well because I think he's a good character, a young player that lost his way slightly.
Yeah.
He defended brilliantly over the course of the game, and some of his passing was better. I like Mbeumo, the position that he's playing. Yeah. He's got the crowd on his side now because he's lively. I didn't see that much from Shesko to say he's going to be an out-and-out, good centre forward. Diallo did enough, to do things. So it was better. I thought the atmosphere inside the stadium was better. It was a positive attitude. They. Again, in the second half, when things started, when they lost the goal, you're thinking, well, hang on, is it all going to go wrong for them? But they showed enough composure, I think, at the end. And overall, it was a decent performance from Manchester United against a 10-man Chelsea that got their tactics all wrong when they went down to 10 men.
What could have cost United is the red card for Casemiro, which I know we said it every time that something like that happened, but should know better, right?
He should know better. I mean, I didn't think the second yellow card was...
It's a bit harsh.
It's a bit harsh, but, you don't give the referee a chance.
Exactly, absolutely.
You've made a bad challenge to get yourself booked in the first place. Now you've got to be careful. Yeah. And on a wet, rainy day when you're going to be sliding in, you can't afford to get a second yellow for sort of tugging somebody back. And it was harsh.
Yeah.
But don't do it.
I know. I agree.
And you have to then also question the manager in those situations. When we're doing commentary, you're thinking, take him off now.
Yeah, I agree.
Whatever you do, don't go down to 10 players. You got 5 substitutes. It's hard on an experienced player to take him off before half time, but he's been booked.
Yeah.
And it's a tough game, and it's on a wet pitch, and people are going to be sliding in, and it doesn't take much to get a yellow card these days.
No, that's very true. That's very true.
So there was the chance for him to take him off.
Yeah.
And put Ugarte on or whatever, but he didn't do so. Yeah. Now, the game changed totally after the silly foul from Sanchez. And what about Maresca's coaching, Jules?
So first of all, let's go back to that red card. Sanchez, stupid, we say, after 5 minutes. Maresca said after the game, I would have rather be a goal down. So let's say Mbeumo would have scored, Sanchez doesn't make the foul. And we're not sure if Mbeumo would have scored, by the way. No. He was through on goal, but then it was him against Sanchez. He could have missed. Then play for 90 minutes with 10 men. It was not that because then, as we said, Casemiro got sent off. But you get the idea from Maresca. I agree with Maresca.
Oh, absolutely.
What is Sanchez doing? I don't understand.
Well,
really.
it's something I don't understand about goalkeepers in general.
Yeah, we said earlier about Donnarumma and this awareness of space.
There's this, and when I was a coach, I kept on saying to the goalkeeping coach, you need to send me the goalkeepers for more 11 versus 11s because you're asking the goalkeeper to do things, come out and judge balls up. They don't judge balls over the top. Who's going to get there first? If the defender's going to get there first, they need to back off and give an angle.
Yeah.
So how often do you see them almost going to clatter into their own defender?
Absolutely.
Or they come out the box and try and volley a ball where they're going to just let it run into the box. They're not very good judges of that.
Yeah.
But they don't want to do it in training because you can't really replicate it that much. But they want 100 touches in 5 minutes, to do all the diving around. They don't want to do that sort of stuff.
No.
Yet coaches are asking them to be good judges of balls played over the top. And Sanchez, I mean, it's
not the first time. Remember the one against City last season that Haaland lobbed him? Yeah. Every season there's like 2 or 3 where he misjudges it.
And then it's a reckless challenge.
Yeah.
It's not, if that was an outfield player, a centre, you'd think, what the hell is he doing? He just kicked through the centre forward, could have taken his leg off. But it's okay with the goalkeeper. He gets sent off, but nobody says anything.
I agree. And I was shocked by Maresca's coaching after that. You bring Jorgensen on, your goalkeeper, take Estevao out, no problem. But then in the same substitution, he bringing Tosin on for Neto. So you take another of your forward off and you think like, really? Why? Why? Play 4-4-1 like everybody does when you're down to 10 for a little bit. If you then, after 10 minutes, realize that you need another centre-back or be more defensive, whatever, then do so be it. But what's the point of doing after 6 minutes?
No, because you're just giving the opposition complete control of the game.
Exactly.
Because Chelsea couldn't get out at that point. They got the centre forward and they got 3 in midfield and they got 5 at the back. There's no chance of them getting out or putting any pressure on the wing backs or the wide centre halves for Manchester United.
Yeah, completely.
And now you're going to have to defend for the rest of the game.
It was crazy. On top of then losing Palmer after 20 minutes, whether it's because he was injured or it was another decision, because Palmer's face...
I would say...
Palmer's face was like, why are you doing?
I think they've used that as an excuse.
I agree.
Because when Palmer came off, he looked at the bench.
He looked like, why are you doing? I agree completely.
There's no way he was taken off for an injury. He was taken off because they thought, he can't get... He's not closing down or whatever it was. And we need more defending, because we're going to be under pressure. That was a decision, a tactical decision,
definitely,
which... they try to hide by saying he had an injury.
Yeah,
that's my view.
Because he looked sharp against Bayern Munich as well on Wednesday in the Champions League. Yeah, so that's good. So that's one that we'll have to clear. Tonight, on Monday night, as we record the show, Stu, is the Ballon d'Or ceremony. Who do you have winning it for the men and who do you have winning it for the women?
Well, I'm going to leave the women to you because you see more women's football than I do. But for the men, and I would say it's a biased view. Because And the reason it's biased is because I saw Dembele probably live on 6 occasions last year in the Champions League. Lamine Yamal, I see every week. So I have seen all his goals, everything. So that's a biased view, but not because I'm biased.
For Lamine.
But I've seen more of him than I have Dembele. So I would say Lamine Yamal because of what I've seen and what he can do and how brilliant he's been and how he can change games. And for someone so young, and it's not just because he's young.
I agree.
He is absolutely outstanding. Whether he can keep his feet on the ground and remain, as Arsenal would say, humble, is another thing. But I would say I would pick him because I've seen him more.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm biased, but for Dembele, I think the best player in the best team in the world deserves to win it, and he was incredible in this kind of year or season, if you want. So Dembele for the women, I think Aitana Bonmati is going for 3 in a row, which obviously never been done before, despite losing the Champions League final and the Euros final. I think Alessia Russo, who won those 2 finals against her, has a big chance. I would love to see Alessia Russo winning it for her career, the profile that she has, the goal that she scores. I think it would be very good. So I'm hoping for Dembele Russo kind of double.
What about no Classique on Sunday?
No Classiques, Stu, because the weather forecast was terrible on Marseille.
I said it in a French accent, Classique, and you just went classic.
So it was postponed to Monday night. So from Sunday night to Monday night to avoid the heavy rain that fell on Marseille. Right, let's go for more quickies, Stu. Liverpool continue their perfect start of the season with a win in the Merseyside derby against Everton.
Well, they got off to a great start, didn't they? 2-0 up, playing some good football. They didn't play particularly well after that. Everton started to get back into the game and created 1 or 2 chances, scored their goal as well. It's all good news for Liverpool in terms of results and points. Are they playing quite as well as they should be?
No.
Not at the moment. But,
no, I agree.
And that might come back. Sometimes when you can keep getting results when you're not playing well, and then suddenly you lose a game when you're not playing well. How do you get it back again?
Yeah,
so
true. But they will also improve collectively they will
Yes,
improve, right?
yeah. No Vets to
Wirtz on
start,
the
so
bench,
they changed the midfield
He's
a little
stuck on
bit
the
to
bench.
be more steady.
Yeah.
So that says that Slot's not quite happy with everything that's going on. But
Yeah.
great start for them, of course. Now, another decent day for Harry Kane in the Bundesliga.
We can debate on the level of the Bundesliga and teams like Hoffenheim, but it's another hat trick for him, albeit with 2 pens. But penalties are worth exactly the same than a normal goal.
100% record in Bundesliga with penalties.
I mean, I think Harry Kane is amazing anyway. At his age, to still being in his scoring form is the Bundesliga defensively a weak league, for sure. They just think about attacking and leave a lot of space, and Bayern are so good and so dominant. And when you play with, Nico Jackson played as a 10 behind him, not Gnabry, which was weird, and Nico Jackson was not good at all. But when you have Olise and Gnabry and Luis Diaz, if you're Harry Kane, it helps. But still, another outstanding performance from him, hat-trick. He's on something like 13 goals already this season, and we're only in September.
And it was only when he played in the European Championships when we thought, is this the end of Harry Kane?
Yeah.
Because he looked sluggish, didn't look as though he was
I
fully
agree.
fit,
He was
didn't
probably
play
fit,
particularly well. But he seems to be back in top form.
Completely, absolutely. Robbo, you commentated on Barcelona Getafe yesterday for ESPN on Sunday night. What did you make of that win? Standard win, I would say. But more importantly, maybe Marcus Rashford was only on the bench because he got dropped for being late.
Yes, he was going to be picked, apparently. So he was going to be in the team. And Ferran Torres was going to be the player left out. He was late. And as is the case with Hansi Flick, if somebody's late for training or somebody's late for a meeting, they get dropped. Rafinha, it was the week before. Koundé twice last year. Marcus Rashford, I think at Manchester United had 1 or 2 issues with punctuality.
That's right.
But he came on as a sub in the second half and played quite well.
But when you had the performance that he had against Newcastle in the Champions League on Thursday, surely you want to kick on and continue and build on that, right?
Yes. So, but if the rules are the rules.
Yeah, but what I mean by that is leave your house early or your room earlier if it was for the team meeting at the hotel. But I don't know.
We were doing the game yesterday and we had Alexis Nunez as the presenter. Well, has she ever been early for anything else? So she was the wrong person to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ali Moreno was very adamant. If you're late, you're late. And I
get that.
I don't know what you're like.
If
here, when I come here, I'm always 15 20 minutes early. Because that's what you do.
But I'm not blaming Flick for the decision. I'm blaming Rashford for not being smart enough in a way to think okay, I want to continue starting because when Lamine is back, he's going to sit back on the bench, and yet he just by himself ruled him out of starting this game against Getafe.
It's ridiculous. Jules, how did Pulisic and Milan get on at the weekend?
Incredible performance, I felt, away at Udinese, the best under Allegri since he came back. They've won 3 in a row now without conceding a goal since that initial defeat against Cremonese on the first week of the season. Pulisic was outstanding. He looked so sharp, scored 2 goals. He'd been looking good earlier in the season as well. But this was outstanding. And I know Udinese are not Juventus or Napoli and things like that. But it was very good. Milan are second now, a point behind Juve. I think it's Napoli-Juve next weekend. And Rabiot was outstanding as well again for them. So all in all, very good afternoon for Milan on Saturday, and especially for Pulisic. Robo, please, can you help us on finding out what's wrong with Aston Villa? Another poor performance on Sunday, despite being 11v10 for an hour, and still no win after that draw against Sunderland.
Well, I watched the highlights of the game, and they didn't dominate the game, that's for sure. Even when Sunderland were down to 10 minutes. They couldn't dominate the game. They haven't dominated any game so far. And I heard the interview that he gave afterwards, Unai Emery, and he talked about we're not playing to the identity. And he kept on saying it. He must have said it about 5 times.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking, so what is your identity? Because when I saw them in previous seasons, they wanted to keep control of the ball. They wanted to play sometimes a risky playing out from the back, which didn't always work. Sometimes it was too slow. And then when they showed a bit more urgency and played with a bit more forward thought, that's when they looked a dangerous side. They used to play a very high offside line, really high, which was there. And he suggested, and it's sometimes hard to understand Unai Emery, but he suggested that they were trying to get the ball forward too quickly and went away from their identity. Well, that's a strange one because sometimes I think they pass it too slowly. And 1 or 2 of their players are lacking confidence. Watkins isn't the player he was a little while ago, and 1 or 2 of the others. So there's lots of things going wrong. I can't put my finger on it quite what it is. Another game and another goal with Real Madrid for Kylian Mbappe, Jules.
That's right, Stu. 5 in 5 now for him. Pretty good stuff. This is a really good goal, 25 years out. Good strike. Win for Real Madrid against Espanyol where I felt didn't play that great. Could have played much much better football. But for him, certainly, and we've said that already with Gab earlier in the season on different shows, this very much feels like he's the leader of that team. 5 wins in 5 now for them in all competitions. He's scoring. The ball comes to him now.
Looks happy.
Yeah, automatically the ball comes to him. Whereas before, he used to go to Vinicius a lot on that left-hand side. Now he comes to him. There's still things to work on, obviously. Defensively, Højsund was suspended for this game. Militao scored a great long-range shot. But there's probably still some work to be done with that back 5 defensively. With also the front 3 who plays on the right, Mastantuono, Rodrigo, what you do with Vinicius, who was not happy when he came off yesterday, halfway through the game, by the way. The midfield is solid. Gula, Valverde and Tchouaméni. What happens to Bellingham when he comes back fully fit? He's back now, but fully fit, we'll have to see. But at least they know they've got Mbappe who's firing, playing at his best. And I think that's probably the best news for Real Madrid. 5 games, 5 losses in the Premier League for Wolves, Robo, and yet they've given their manager Vitor Pereira an extension on his contract. Does it make sense to you?
Not at all. I mean, if his contract was up, you can say, well, we'll give him another chance. He did well last season to keep us up, so there's your reward. But to give him a 2-year extension when he's got a year left, if you lose another 5 games and you lose 10 out of 10, you're going to sack the manager.
Yeah,
you have to. There's nothing. The fans will demand it. The fans were baying for blood. Weekend when they lost to Leeds. So it seems a very strange decision. Unless there's no compensation, or a very minor compensation in the contract, in the clause in the contract. We're gonna, if we ever sack you, we're only going to pay you 6 months' money.
Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense.
It's a bizarre thing to do.
Yeah.
Now, a player that I saw play for Spain as a 17-year-old, and he was the best player on the field in a 6-0 win against Ukraine, I think it was, Ansu Fati. Are we starting to see a bit of redemption for him?
I hope so, Stu, because like you, I remember seeing him in the 2019-20 season where he broke through with Barcelona at 16, breaking all those records, looking amazing, and things have been very difficult since. He's at Monaco now. He's obviously still only 22. He's there on loan with an option to buy of 11 million euros. That's his. That has the price, the value now. He scored his first goal in 2 years in midweek in the Champions League against Bruges, where he came on. They were 4-0 down. He scored late. Okay, no problem. And then this weekend, they were struggling against Metz in Ligue 1, Monaco. He came on at halftime, scored 30 seconds after coming on, his first goal to make it 2-1. They were 1-1 when he came on to make it 2-1. Then Metz came back to 2-2. Then he scored to make it 3-2 and take his team towards the win. So the first time he scored 2 goals in like 3 years or something crazy like that. And he looks sharp.
Yeah.
Probably still doesn't look as amazing as when we remember seeing him when he was so young. But at least he looks more in place than what he did at Brighton, for example, where he really struggled under De Zerbi. And it's good. It's really good to see him like that, because he's such a talent. The talent is there. There's no doubt.
It was injuries that cost
absolutely.
him. And now he's lost. He did lose his confidence. He didn't quite have the same pace, but maybe that's coming back. Let's hope it's coming back.
Definitely. No, very good from him at Monaco. Crystal Palace beat West Ham on Saturday, and they're now unbeaten in 17 games, Robo. That's pretty incredible.
It is. The manager, Glasner's done a great job. Yes, they've lost Eza, which was a blow to him.
Yeah, absolutely.
They kept their centre-half, which is a massive bonus. But they have a full system of playing. It's a similar system to what Manchester United try and play in terms of a back 3. It's 4 across midfield. They play 2 players sort of slightly wider than the centre forward. But they play it very well. They've got a lot of strength. They've got a great team spirit at the moment. They play to the system well. They work hard. You can see why they've had such a good run. It's been excellent from them.
You know who they're playing next weekend at home? Liverpool. So that's a big game for Liverpool,
So that 5 points that you kept on about,
you don't know. I'm just saying.
Another defeat for Graham Potter, Jules. Is it time to say goodbye?
I know you like your West Ham, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
But I was never a fan of Graham Potter, even before Chelsea, even at Brighton, despite the good season that he had over there. I just never really understood the hype and what the first was about, because I think he's just an average coach. And when you have young players who are talented like he used to at Brighton, then you can improve them and you can make something out of this team. When you've got experienced players that don't really understand what you're trying to tell them, or what you're saying to them doesn't make much sense, then this is what happens. And that's exactly what West Ham is. Toxic. I can't see him lasting much longer, to be fair.
You talk about identity and things like that. I don't see what the identity is.
I don't see
West
anything
Ham.
with him.
I'm not sure what he's trying to do or what their tactics are.
They keep conceding the same goals.
Yeah.
They work on set pieces. They're still as bad as they were last month or the month before or last season when he was already there. I just don't know what he does at training, but they don't improve at all in any way, with the ball, without the ball, defensively, attackingly, nothing.
No.
Robo, Tottenham got a point at Brighton on Saturday. Do you think it's Thomas Frank would be happy with that on the where the game went, or is 2 points dropped?
No, 2 points dropped, but I think he'd be happy with the way they played. You know, they conceded a couple of goals. One with again, we talk about one running behind, they get beaten.
He's just onside,
but you can't allow people to just run off the back of you and get in like that. The second one, I still think the goalkeeper should have done better.
I agree. Yeah.
I mean, it's got a bit of bend on it, but he starts to go one way far too early, and then he doesn't get back and get a good hand to it. So that was a problem. But I think they created enough chances. He made some good substitutions. They've now got a bigger squad. You know, he changed the wide players. He could change some of the midfield players. It's I wouldn't say they're a top class side yet. They are probably where they should be. You know, sort of, I mean, 6th to 8th.
Probably for now. Yeah,
that's
they're third in the table. But
sorry, when I look at them, they're a 6th to 8th team.
I think.
And the players they've got, you know, Simons did well when he came on, and he looks to
Bergvall is good.
Bergvall has done well, playing much more advanced than he was before. So I think he'd be quite happy, Thomas Frank, with the way the start of the season has gone. Now, at the weekend, Juventus were frustrated by Verona on Saturday, and Igor Tudor was not happy with the draw.
No, not at all. Yeah, and Napoli, who played tonight on Monday night, Juventus at top of the table now with 10 points. Napoli, if they win, they will go 4-4, so go back to that first place. He was very frustrated and disappointed by the referee because they think they should have had a penalty, and the Verona who scored on a penalty was not the right call either. I think it's also a week where Juventus played in Europe, in the Champions League, and that
was quite an emotional game as well against Dortmund. You know,
absolutely.
To come back late on like they did.
It was crazy, and I think you see that they maybe struggle a little bit with that, despite the changes that he made. So it's not a bad result, really, when you think about it. They were frustrated because I think they know that on another day they should have won that, and to be fit, that's fair. But I said earlier that it's Milan-Napoli at the weekend, not Juve-Napoli. So that's a good opportunity for Juve and Tudor to, obviously, if Milan and Napoli have a draw or something like that, it could be a good opportunity for Juventus. So it's still a good start of the season for them, to be fair. Blackburn-Ipswich in the Championship was abandoned after 80 minutes on Saturday to a waterlogged pitch because of the crazy rain. Did something like that ever happen to you when you were playing?
No, you spoke to me about it, and I looked back and I thought I'd never had a game abandoned.
Yeah, you can't remember.
The only time a game maybe could have got abandoned. Arsenal played at Manchester United in probably 86, and we won the game 1-0, and Charlie Nicholas scored the goal. But he toe poked it beyond the goal, and the ball got stuck in a puddle and just about rolled over the line. So if anybody ever wants to see that, it's 1986, Old Trafford. Arsenal won the game 1-0.
Was the pitch really bad?
And the pitch was bad. It was pouring rain. It had puddles on it
everywhere,
and it was just a slog, really.
Yeah.
We got the better of Manchester United not very often at Old Trafford in those days, but we did, and won the game 1-0. But it was a game that probably now they would look at and think, should we have?
So Blackburn were 1-0 up in that game against Ipswich, which would be a big win for them. They started okay the season. So I think the rule said that you have to play the remaining of the game that had been kind of suspended. So they will find a day to play the last 10 minutes. It must be weird, though, as a player, because you're going to warm up more than you actually play, right? Because your warm-up usually lasts, 25 minutes, probably 25 minutes?
And Ipswich have got to go gung-ho when that 10 minutes, come on, we've got to get back into the game here.
And Ipswich will travel all the way back to Blackburn, so like literally southeast.
I mean, I didn't see what the pitch looked like.
It was.
Could you not have played for another 10 minutes?
It was bad, I promise you.
It's rare to say, but Dortmund managed to keep a lead this week.
Yes, well done to them. They played Wolfsburg on Sunday, and as we saw in the Champions League, we mentioned the game against Juventus. As we saw earlier in the Bundesliga as well, they tend to let leads go, especially late in games. They don't have any game management intelligence when it's about like closing the game out. So this time I was happily surprised. So good goal by Adeyemi, good long range shot. Never easy, as we often say, to play in a week where you had Champions League in midweek, especially so early in the season. So well done for them. They stay second.
Are they going to be the biggest challengers? Well, some sort of challenger to Bayern Munich this year?
Yeah. I think they finished second. They're the second best team.
Yeah.
But they will keep dropping points in silly ways like we've just mentioned. And Bayern are far too good for them. But for now, they're second behind Bayern. They haven't lost. They just dropped 2 points, drawing one of the games. So they're there, but they even when you watch them play, it's still not at the level of Bayern.
But it's still a great place to go and watch football.
Oh,
if anybody wants to go to Europe to watch a game of football and they've never been to Dortmund, if you can get a ticket, go to Dortmund.
Yeah, no reception for your phone, so you can't call anybody or text anyone, but the atmosphere.
Oh, and by the way, you can't also, when you go there, you can't buy from any of the shops or the stores unless you have a Dortmund card.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I found out on the last time I went.
You had queued for an hour.
And then when I got there, they said, no, you need a Dortmund card. What? But some very nice chap paid
lovely.
for my drink and my sandwich, and I gave him the cash. The cash.
I love it. So. Yeah, it's an experience, definitely, to go there. Atletico Madrid struggled again in La Liga this weekend, and Julien Laurens was not happy. What happened?
Well, he's been taken off several times this season.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised. When I saw him at Man City, everyone said, "What they can't let him go. What a great player!" And he had a good World Cup.
Yeah, of course.
And I used to look at him play sometimes in the FA Cup games and in the Carabao Cup games. I think I don't see what everybody else.
You mean? Yeah, when he was starting.
I don't quite see him as the player that everybody else does.
And
I don't think he's a great loss to Man City. Then when he went to Atletico, he ran around and scored some very good goals. And we're talking about a world-class player. I don't see it. And when I see him, play now, he's a good player. But he's not he's not an elite player. So I'm not surprised when he comes off. Sorloth gives them a different option when he comes on. Got himself sent off. But he gives them a totally different option. And he's a better player than people give him credit for, Sorloth. So, if he's got to put up with it.
So you could read on the lips of Alvarez, like, it's always me. It's always me that you take out.
It's only going to be him or Griezmann.
Yeah, I mean, Griezmann doesn't even start. I mean, the only game he started, to be fair, is the only one they won.
Yeah.
But I feel sad for I mean, it's normal. When you get to Sunderland as a player, you went through it as well. You start, obviously, not being as good as you were in your peak years.
What do you mean?
Sorry,
my career just was cut short when I got injured.
That's very true.
Gone.
But the ones without injuries like you, naturally the level goes down. But when you've been that good like Griezmann, and when you clearly just don't really have the legs anymore to play at this level, you can still play, I'm sure, in maybe in MLS or somewhere, which he will go next year. But I think it's always quite sad.
It's sad,
sad.
One of the saddest things I saw was Luis Figo when he was.
I remember. Yeah,
when he was one of the world's best players.
Yeah.
And then by the end of his career, he was almost playing at walking pace.
Yes.
Thinking,
he could not take on anybody anymore.
No, this isn't. Give up.
No.
Retire while you were at the top player.
Yeah.
Now the Rome derby on Sunday, Jules. How did it go?
Yeah, as we always, he's going to be feisty. There was another 2 red cards for Lazio. Roma won away at Lazio. I know it's the same stadium, but technically away at Lazio. 1-0. Pellegrini scored. Which was a good game, I think, in Gasperini's first Rome derby as well. So for him, it was very important, I think, and with the fans, to almost validate a good start of the season with a win in the derby against the arch rivals. I thought Manu Kone was outstanding. And for me, he's really developing. I see him with France. I saw him before at Gladbach, but now in Italy, a better level than in the Bundesliga. I'm just loving the players he's becoming in midfield. He's outstanding, Stu. Promise with the ball. He's strong. He's really, his game intelligence, his football IQ is developing very quickly. And working with Gasperini will help him a lot. So big win and good win for Roma, who finished the game with 11 against 9.
Have you ever been to a Rome derby?
No, never. I would love to.
I've been to 2.
Have you?
Yeah. Commentated on one and went as a guest on another one.
Amazing.
It's an experience.
Yeah, I would love to.
Not so much inside the ground. Outside the ground is an experience. You have to be very careful.
Rome is a great city to start with.
Yes.
And if you can add that to your weekend and go to the derby, something to do, yeah?
Well, you like a nice weekend away with your wife. You can take her to the Rome derby. There we are. I'm sure she'd be pleased about that.
Delighted.
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo had a strong message on social media against people who questioned Joao Felix's move to Saudi.
Yeah, I think it was a Portuguese podcast that mentioned that he was a fool to go, or that he was wrong to go to
Saudi Arabia. Exactly. If you draw I draw Felix's age and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he called them idiots for thinking.
Yes. And I didn't need to call them idiots, but I can understand what he's saying, because at the moment, João Felix has been a flop in the last 3 years. Who's going to take him on the wages that he would want and give him a go? You know, he struggled at Barcelona. He struggled at Chelsea. Who are the big clubs who are going to take him now? So the only place that's going to pay him his wages and pay him good money is Saudi Arabia. So I can fully understand why he's going. He might only still be 25, but I think we've already seen the best of him.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think he's just lost his way and he's lost his confidence. And maybe going to Saudi Arabia will build his confidence back up. We've seen other people go to Saudi Arabia and come back again.
He's doing great over there, but it's because the level is obviously not as good as when you play for AC Milan, Chelsea or Barcelona, right?
Yeah, and over the time I've seen him play in recent years, he had one very good game for Barcelona against Atletico Madrid, where he's
his former club,
and he didn't carry that on.
Yeah,
and he's a player that's been on a downward spiral until he's gone to Saudi Arabia. So nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, the football community was deeply saddened by the passing of Matt Beard this weekend, Jules.
Yeah, really sad news, Stu. This weekend, he was 47 years old. The Burnley women coach, a big name in women's football world, if you want, here in the UK, where he won titles with Liverpool in, I think, 2013 and 14. He went to the US. He came back to Liverpool. Loved by people. Really good coach. One of the, in a way, pioneer of like the last 15 years or so, if you want. So really, really sad news. And the Liverpool game this weekend was postponed in the WSL, and rightly so. And everywhere there was a lot of tributes to Matt Beard, which I think was completely fitted, because he was really, really a good guy. So it's a massive loss to football, and really sad news. Stu, I know we finished on a side note, but thank you so much for coming. It was a great show. Thank you, as always, when you come on the Gab Juls Show. This is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back on Thursday, and I think Gab will be back as well to review everything that would happen in midweek. But until then, as Gab often say, love yourself, love your game, and love your neighbor, something like that.
Yeah, love yourself. That's the main one.